Let's clean up pollution. Make Super River the envy of the nation. I tell you, please keep the river clean. I beg you, please keep the river clean. No more trash in the water, keep the river clean. Let me preserve for the future, keep the river clean. You're so fresh, keep the river clean, keep the river clean. Farmers, keep the river clean, keep the river clean. Hoteliers, keep the river clean, keep the river clean. Businesses, keep the river clean, keep the river so fresh. Please keep the river clean. I tell you, please keep the river clean. No more trash in the water, keep the river clean. Let me preserve for the future, keep the river clean. Hey.
Welcome to Flowing Clean, the radio show where the Sufa River and ravines have a voice and communities take the lead. Each week, we dive into the heart of the Flowing Clean project, discussing the most recent activities, giving insight into upcoming ones. We will uncover the science and the solutions behind clean, healthy rivers, from expert guests to local champions. This is your source for inspiration, information, and action about this project. Flowing Clean is funded by Jeff SGP UNDP and ProCarry Plus, and this program is made possible by SRDF as our collaborating and funding partner. Join us on Flowing Clean, because every drop counts and the river depends on you. Flowing Clean, restoring our rivers together. Keep the river. Good morning, Sufra. Good morning to all the listeners who are joining on radio, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on live stream. Good morning, and once again to another edition of Flowing Clean. I am your host, Nadia Kazobo. Welcome once again to another edition of the show, where we will provide you with an update on what the Flowing Clean project has done for the past weeks and what we have planned for the upcoming weeks. Today, I want to start off by just talking very briefly about water. Last week, I spoke to you about World Oceans Day, and I told you as well, we celebrated the previous week on June 5th, World Environment Day. Today, I'm going to talk very briefly about the importance of water, and it is very timely as we are facing water shortages in Sufre. Water, as everybody knows, is very vital for all our daily activities. From the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, you need water. Water to drink has to be of potable water quality. Potable water standards means that the water should have no organisms living in it, so no bacteria that is living in it, no contaminants from chemicals, from heavy metals, from anything of the sort. So when WASCO sends water to us, the water should be of potable water quality, which would be safe for consumption, safe for drinking. We use that water as well for other things at our homes, from washing dishes to bathing to flushing toilets, washing clothes, cleaning around the house, and lots of other uses that we have for water, cooking, etc. So for us, water is a very important resource that we need for our daily activities. Where does WASCO get that water from? We recently had a survey, a knowledge, attitudes, and perception survey. It's called a CAP survey that was conducted with about 300 residents from around Sufre. And one of the questions that was asked in the survey is, do you know where your water catchment is? Unfortunately, the results show that very few Sufrerians actually know where our water catchments are. In a way, I think that's a good thing, because we don't want persons going there tampering with it. But in a way, it's not such a good thing either. Sorry about that. I should have placed my phone on Do Not Disturb. Let me do that right now. Give me 1 second. That was an oversight on my part this morning. We do not want to have our water sources, our water catchments being contaminated. So we want to ensure that the area around the spring or the river where WASCO is collecting the water to treat it, to provide to the customers, to the residents, to us, to you and me for drinking is safe. In Sufre, we have 6 water catchments. we have 3 spring catchments in the Fonsejac area. We have 1 spring catchment in the Ruby area that is also mixed with water from the Ruby stream. And we also have water coming to the residents of Buto and hopefully soon enough to the residents of Kolobet. But right now it's stopping only at Buto. We have that water coming from the Canaries River, which is a catchment where the water is pumped all the way up the hill to Buton. Residents who live in Fonjalib, Chateau Belair, as well as the hotel of Sugar Beach, As de Piton, the residents within As de Piton, they get their water from the Delse catchment, and water is collected there from the Assiniboine River as well as from a spring below Chateau Belair. We want to ensure that the water from all our catchments are safe for drinking. Wasco also has 2 water catchments in the Diamond 1 and the Diamond 2 spring areas. As part of the Flowing Clean project, we conducted some water quality testing of springs in Soufrière, the water catchments and along the pipes, along the lines, as well as the river. And for the most part, the water quality in the taps met potable standards. There was one issue which we found, which I am very pleased to say that Wasco took prompt action to address, which is why we have Wasco presenting water to us or providing, water to us from Fonsejac and from Ruby while they address the issue with the diamond catchments. For us, we are working assiduously towards ensuring that our water quality data, which we collected for the rivers and the springs, will be provided to the public. We will be putting out a state of the river report, and that is going to be released very shortly. As soon as the date is set for that, I will let you all know on the air so that you can come out when we are holding this public meeting for you to hear about the river. I can tell you that we have concerns about the water quality in the Soufrière River, especially at the mouth of the river, with the level of contamination that is flowing downstream. And it is a cause for concern because we still have persons going to bathe at the mouth of the Soufrière River, which nobody should be doing. That water does not meet recreational standards. Recreational standards are standards that are set to ensure that the water passes a certain benchmark, a certain level of cleanliness that is making it safe for human activity, for bathing, for fishing, for recreation. So the recreational standards for you to be able to bathe in the river, it must meet recreational standards. And I can let you know from now that the water in the Laboucherie does not meet recreational standards. This Flowing Clean project, we are addressing several of the contamination points, the streams of waste that enter the river in an effort, a concerted effort to ensure that we try to improve the water quality in the river. I have said this on air before and I will repeat myself. One of the reasons why this project is being done was because we observed what happened after Hurricane Thomas. I personally saw persons bathing in the Soufrière River after Hurricane Thomas. I saw persons block the drain on the side by Soufrière Estate, by the hydro, and I witnessed somebody bathing an infant. That child was not yet a year old, about 5 months old. bathing an infant in water that was blocked in a drain on the side of the gutter. That is a health concern. We know that in the aftermath of a disaster, if there's no water, persons resort to going to collect water from any and every place for them to utilize. Because it is an important resource, we need it. Yet we are taking the water that we have in Soufrière for granted. I want Soufrière residents to bear patience, and I know because I am going through it. WASCO has to ration water for us. We are on a set schedule for water. There is a schedule that has been put out. And yes, WASCO does not keep to the schedule to the letter because of delays. Some of it from bricks on the line, like just recently there was a brick on the line from Ruby, so that the communities who had to get water on Sunday and yesterday did not receive the water because they had to repair the lines. Yes, the district representative and WASCO have, in an effort to help with the situation, especially for areas where persons do not have space for storage of water, they have installed several water tanks around Soufrière, and that is costing the government of St. Lucia and WASCO quite a bit of money to pay these water trucks to go and keep those tanks filled with water. We have at our fingertips right now the ability to collect rainwater. I am making an appeal to Soufriérians. Please start collecting rainwater. Please, if you can afford, purchase a rainwater tank, a water tank, and collect rainwater. If you have the space and you can afford, for you to build resilience in your own household to climate change, invest in a water tank to collect water from WASCO as well. You can have a simple blue barrel to collect water from when it rains from the roof from your gutterings. But please ensure that you cover it properly so that it does not breed mosquitoes, and you keep the mesh or the cloth that is over the top very taut so that it doesn't sag and allow mosquitoes to breed. But if you have that barrel of water at your home, you can afford yourself some level of water security to know that you have water there for washing, for cooking, etc. I know there is an up-and-coming company looking to teach people, provide equipment for persons to be able to utilize rainwater and treat the rainwater to make it potable. If anybody is interested in doing that, I can let you know the company's contact information. I'm sure we will see other companies popping up doing the very same thing. I grew up drinking rainwater in the country. There are quite a few persons who still harvest rainwater. I know 2 individuals who use rainwater for their drinking source in Soufrière. They don't use WASCO's water for drinking. They treat the water using charcoal. They have designed their own systems, and that's what they use for consumption, for drinking. Water security is absolutely vital to our daily living, to our health, and to the economy of St. Lucia. We need to protect this water resource that we have taken for granted for far too long. Look at all the water that is flowing down into the river. Yesterday, I had the opportunity for me to present to students, all the grade 6 students at Soufrière, at Pont-Saint-Jacques RC Primary School. And I spoke to them about the importance of water within the watershed. And for some of them, I saw that some things were finally clicking in their brains. When it rains, the water falls on the ground and it seeps down through the soil using the little channels around the roots of plants and particularly trees. We need trees to channel the water down into the bedrock below, into the porous rocks below. And that water is stored in those porous rocks in what is called an aquifer. When there's a break in the rock, the porous rocks on the side of a mountain, you get a spring. The water flows out into the streams and the rivers. Some water does not seep down, and most of the water runs off the ground. We have, over time, with development, created impermeable barriers all around our Soufriere watershed, from the asphalt roads, the concrete roads, all the buildings, the houses, all the roofs, all these spaces, surface area is covered, preventing water from seeping underground. It makes the water run off the land very quickly into the drains, into the rivers, and that fresh water that previously would have seeped into the ground, quite a bit of it would have seeped into the ground, flows straight into the sea. WASCO has for years been observing a decline in the amount of water that is flowing out from the springs. What is the cause for that? I think it's several issues. One, increasing development, more impermeable road barriers, concrete barriers, houses being built, reducing the amount of land available for water to seep into the ground to refill the aquifers. Two, climate change. We are living in the world, the time right now where we are seeing a change in the rainfall pattern as we speak. During the dry season, the wet season, which we can't even differentiate between the dry and wet season right now, actually. But during the wet season, we are getting less rainfall. And not just that we're getting less total rainfall for the year, but when it rains, we get a lot of rain in a very short space of time. So all the rain that is falling does not get a chance to seep into the soil and to get to the aquifers that the springs need for recharging. The majority of the water runs off the ground into the river and straight down to the sea. We need to find ways of slowing down the flow of water when it rains down to the river and to the sea so that it gets a chance to seep down into our aquifers. I also suspect that some of the localized tremors that we have been feeling in Soufriere have been causing the rocks underground to crack and the water to seep lower and deeper underground. That's my theory. That has not been proven, but that is my personal theory as to one of the reasons why we are seeing less water coming out of the springs. But the farming practices that we have been seeing happening up in the mountains of persons clear-cutting trees, full-grown trees, clear-cutting trees alongside the riverbanks to plant crops for farmers to earn their livelihood. I'm not against the farmers earning their livelihoods, but cutting the trees is having an impact on the watershed, on the catchments, on the aquifers, because it is creating an open soil, exposed soil situation that allows the water to run off very quickly, evaporate even faster, because there's nothing to create shade to stop the water from evaporating. And we end up with a lot of topsoil running off, topsoil being lost. And it's just a bad farming practice that is just destructive. So you cut the trees, you expose the soil, When it rains, the topsoil runs off. Now you have to go and replace the nutrients because the topsoil is where the bulk of your soil nutrients are contained. That is where the leaves have composted and degraded, biodegraded, and to make the nutrients available for the plants. But if you remove it and you expose it to soil, when it rains, the topsoil is going to wash away. Then the farmers have to go and add fertilizer. And it's just a recycle on repeat that is not going to get better anytime soon unless the practices change. Farmers have been taught methods, and forestry and agriculture have tried several projects with farmers. Some of them have adopted those practices to do contour terracing, to plant trees as wind buffers, to plant trees to hold back the soil in rows as windrows while they do their short-term crops. But we need a lot more persons to adopt good farming practices while still maintaining their livelihoods. We know that in Fort Jacques, there's a lot of dash-in farming. Farmers are of the opinion that for dash-in to produce well, it needs to have full access to sunlight. And I've been seeing and speaking to persons in other countries where dash-in farming takes place, and the dash-ins are partially shaded. Is it that a myth that our farmers believe that the dash-ins must have full access to sun for them to grow? I know that in Trinidad, for instance, farmers who produce dash-in, they cut off the leaves and they actually sell dash-in leaves and export dash-in leaves. Because when you cut the leaves, the plant puts all its effort into growing a bigger tuber, a bigger dash-in. If you leave it exposed to the sunlight, the leaves get tall and big, and the plant puts its energy into producing bigger leaves. So we really need to look into how we farm dash-in, see how other countries do it, and see how we can change our practices so that we can protect our water resource, protect our soil, encourage our farmers to go into contour terracing, utilize bamboo or stones to build these sort of like steps on slopes so that you slow down. You break the water rushing down. It doesn't just wash straight down and you end up with your topsoil being washed away. When that water runs off the land very quickly, doesn't get a chance for it to seep into the ground, and we need the water to seep into the ground to recharge our aquifers, to refill the porous rocks on the ground so that we have the water stored on the ground. In St. Lucia, as persons from the ministries who are into this field will tell you, we get sufficient rainfall that we should not be having any water problems in this country. The issues starts with lack of water storage. The ground is the natural water reservoir that Wasco has been tapping into. If that underground water reservoir and the rivers are drying out, we need to have more above ground water storage. So Wasco now needs to invest in more water storage. It would be cheaper if we can plant more trees and allow the ground to be the water reservoir. But since we're not able to do that effectively with persons telling you that the land is theirs, it's their private property, we now need to look at above ground water storage. You cannot just say build more dams around the country, because look at what is happening at the John Compton Dam. It is silted, overly silted. And they still experience water issues on that line. All our rivers in St. Lucia, not just in Soufrière, are drying up. All of our rivers are drying up. Can you imagine living in a community where water is supposed to be collected from a river to provide to the community to drink, and if that river goes completely dry, what is going to happen? Where will Wasco be getting the water to treat, to send to persons' homes? They would have to take water from another community, which is what is happening right now in St. Lucia. There are some communities that have gone 3 months with no water. 3 months. Here in Soufrière, we have been going days and weeks without water. I don't think there's a single community in Soufrière that has gone 3 months without water. Well, except for the Conobet area, which has not had water from Wasco ever. Hopefully that can be resolved soon. But we need to be mindful of how fortunate we are that we do get access to water. And we need to be mindful that we need to play our part to ensure that we protect our water catchments. I can tell you, a number of years ago, there was a project being done called the IWCAM project, Integrated Water and Coastal Area Management Project. It was being done on the East Coast in the Mabuya Valley area in Dennery. They were looking at the watershed as a whole, from the rainforest down to the sea. So the mountain range and everywhere where the water flows down to that Mabuya River, all the way down to the sea. That's a watershed. So for us in Soufrière, our watershed is from the top of Mini, from Dewash, flowing all the way down to the Soufrière River. All the area where the water runs off the land, enters the river and flows to the sea, that area is a watershed. Watersheds are bounded by mountains, and the mountain ridge, the top of the mountain, is the boundary between one watershed and the other. With the IWCAM project, they conducted a study tour to Soufrière, using Soufrière as the model watershed, which was a much better watershed, much better managed than the Mabuya Valley watershed. When they came to Soufrière, we took a drive up to Mazele in Font-Saint-Jacques, where Wasco has one of the water catchments. And we were utterly shocked, disappointed, dismayed, upset, and angry to witness somebody had planted bananas up till the fence line where Wasco has tapped the spring. Bananas were planted up against the fence. And the day we went there, the time we got there, we saw somebody spraying the bananas right up onto the fence line. You could see the mist from the spray falling into the water running from the catchment. Somebody was spraying bananas alongside the fence, marking the area, protecting the place where Wasco has a catchment. Use your common sense. If you're spraying bananas right alongside the spring catchment, that chemical is going to be seeping into the ground, and you can figure out the rest. I understand that the land is somebody's private land and they want to earn a living, but that's the same water they have to drink when they get down to Font-Saint-Jacques. That's the same water you have to drink. Right now in town, in Soufrière town, on the southern side of the Soufrière River, we're getting our water all the way from Font-Saint-Jacques. Do you know where your water catchment is? Do you know what is happening around the water catchment? I am of the opinion that government should acquire the land up to a certain distance between at every single catchment around the island to protect the water, to protect the integrity and the water from getting contaminated. We have to be mindful of the water resources that we have. This project that we are working on is to get communities to take responsibility to restore our Soufrière watershed, to restore our rivers to health, to ensure that we play our part individually, as a family, as a community collectively, to ensure that we restore our rivers and our water resources to health because we need it. The other part of this project that a lot of persons are interested in will be coming on stream very shortly. That is a study looking at general health in the community, an epidemiological study that we will be holding, having persons go out, ask questions about people's health histories, and we would analyze the results. Medical researchers will be analyzing these results to see if anything stands out. We're not going to say that the water caused anything. We're going to present what we find, what people responses are. The same way I'll be presenting our results of our CAP survey and our water quality testing to you is the same way we will present the results of our epidemiological survey to you when the survey is completed, analyzed, and it has been validated. Upcoming in the next 2 weeks, I'm meeting, in fact, with the residents of New Development tomorrow. There's a meeting for residents of New Development area to meet to discuss some of the committee plans. Their community cleanup, the bulk waste cleanup is happening this Friday. So residents of New Development, we are collecting your bulk waste and doing your community cleanup on Friday. And on Saturday, we are doing a cleanup at the Soufriere Fisheries Cooperative at the Fisheries Complex, all the way down to the Soufriere Beach Park area behind Hummingbird Beach Resort. So we are doing 2 cleanups this week, one on Friday and one on Saturday. So residents of New Development, your day to put out your bulk waste is on Friday. And if you are doing so, I would like you to ensure that you have somebody around to place those appliances into the truck when you put them out. Likewise, for the Fisheries Cooperative, for the Fisheries Complex, whatever old fisheries gear, etc., that is going to be removed, it is going to be placed by the side of the road, and then the truck will be coming, the driver will be coming. We will need persons from the fisheries to load those trucks. I do not want to see any appliances from any Airbnb. I'm being told that persons who own Airbnbs, guest houses, are placing their garbage by the fisheries complex because fisheries has a big green bin. You're making enough money to pay SADU to collect your garbage. Do not place your garbage at the fisheries complex. That is unfair to the fisheries cooperative to have to be paying to dispose of garbage for you. We are only doing a cleanup for the fisheries cooperative and cleaning up the beach from the complex down to the Soufriere Beach Park area. Other community cleanups are being organized. I know I have Hickson and a few other persons who are trying to mobilize the communities from Upper Boulevard Street to Upper Bridge Street for their cleanup area, for their community cleanup. Also looking at Crestland for a cleanup, Etangs as well for a cleanup. Once I have the dates for those communities, I will let you know on air as well. I have gone a little past my allotted time for today. I want to say thank you for those who tuned in to listen. We have a lot more that we need to discuss. As soon as the date is set for the community meetings, I will let you know, and I would love to see a full house for us to present our results to the community and to invite discussion and engage the community in talking about how they can play their part in ensuring that we restore our Soufriere River to health. So once again, let me say thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in to 88.5. And I will see you here again next week, Tuesday, same time.
Boy, it's the message. Yo, Soufriere.